I haven't listened to anything you've said in the last 20 seconds.
Damn it, Trevor. We had a shtick.
Line.
Two friends who hate each other.
Rude.
Talking science fiction.
It has become this cultural phenomenon.
Along with some special guests.
I appreciate what Star Trek did to me.
I would love to have this book get banned.
And that wasn't acting. That was real.
Do you know what our YouTube channel is?
Absolutely not. No win scenario.
With Trevor and Dawn.
Okay, we're not doing that.
Boom.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to this very special episode of No Win Scenario. I am one of your hosts, Don Schechter, and with me here in his No Win Scenario shirt, once again, Trevor Chamberlain. How you doing, Trevor?
I'm good, and I wave, even though this is audio
We told him
as well.
to not wave, especially for
wave.
people listening. But yes, he's waving semi-emphatically with his weird small hands.
Yeah, my weird pasty small hands.
But this is a special episode. Do you know why this is a special episode, Trevor?
This is the 50 Shades of Grey episode, right?
No. You ruined it. This is our clip show, the Shades of Grey episode. Shades of Grey, as everyone knows, the second season finale of Star Trek: The Next Generation. One of the worst episodes ever.
Right, but our special guest is Dakota Johnson from 50
This is
Shades
not
of
50
Grey.
Shades of Grey,
No?
and everyone's keeping their clothes on.
Okay.
No, Shades of Grey, the end of season 2, Next Generation, was how do you say, a disaster? People have said it was a 0 out of 10. Awful episode. For a good time, everyone should look up Wikipedia of Shades of Grey. But we were here in the No Win Scenario studio once again. It's awesome. And realized
It is pretty awesome.
this was a great time in the middle of season 3 to look back at this podcast. So we thought we'd look at some of our favorite moments from the last couple years here. But I think before we do that, Trevor's going to have to listen to some episodes and figure out what we said. But before we do that, Trevor, maybe we should talk about the genesis of this podcast. I know we've joked about it before.
The genesis of the podcast was...
Genesis, get it? Pun? Like Star Trek Genesis? Yeah, okay.
I get it.
Pun intended. Go on.
Was that Dawn and I have always had this rapport. We genuinely are good friends. Dawn just had me over for dinner a few weeks ago. It was very nice. And we get along really well. And even though our tastes are different, they are somewhat aligned. Yet we also have, as many of you probably picked up by now, we have zero respect for each other's tastes.
Correct.
Zero respect.
It's the first thing you've ever said I've agreed with.
And at the same time, I had been producing podcasts for a local hospital, and I think I was getting frustrated with the content, or maybe not, but I was like, this podcast stuff I'm doing, it would be pretty cool if I did something that was fun and, something that I really enjoyed, something that was personal. And I thought about Dawn. I thought about the back and forth we would have. I knew if I was going to sell it to Dawn, it had to be science fiction. My only request is that it just be small. And of course, the second I asked Dawn about it, not only was he all in, but it got big. And we had merch even before our first episode, which I'm embarrassed about to this day.
I got to get that off the site. I will remove
embarrassed
that.
about
It's AI merch, but yeah.
And
well, we weren't even going to use your likeness or your full name.
Right. We weren't going to use my full name. And then we went back and forth on a name for quite a while. And it just hit me. One of the few things we agree on is that The Wrath of Khan is not just the best Star Trek movie, but one of the best sci-fi films made in the West.
And it didn't age well.
It didn't age well? You don't think it didn't?
I'm just giving you a hard time.
I think it
can't
aged,
agree with you.
I think it aged
Great movie,
really well.
except for the graphics. Did not age well. Little parasites. Like Shades of Grey, where Riker has a parasite that causes him to see clips from the show.
I prefer the puppetry and the analog look, but I'm old. Okay. And so it hit me. I was like, oh, it's got to be no-win scenario.
And at the same time was season 3 of Star Trek Picard, episode name, No-Win Scenario.
No-win scenario.
So it's a natural fit, that name.
Right.
But you also wanted to add a little bit of a mental health bit to it. So maybe you can
I did, because I was
that.
working in mental health at the time and wanted to, whoever we interviewed, I thought that not to use it as a marketing or a selling point, but I knew it would make our podcast different. We could have fun. We can rip on each other. We can talk about people's careers and their backgrounds, but not ultimately, but a part of it, I wanted it to be how mental health plays into their role in whatever they do. And sometimes we don't even have to ask. We just recently did an interview where this person was very forward about their industry and the effect that it's had on them. And, we didn't even have to bring it up. We've had some people that we've wanted to bring it up to, and they've said, okay, but we got to just stay in this area and not go out to this. Everybody has their own level of comfort in discussing it. But that is the mental health aspect of it. And it's not that I was surprised that you, and I don't mean this in a negative way, I was surprised you went along with that, because I would have thought that you would want to keep it just strictly fun sci-fi. But when I brought in that angle, you were all for it.
Don't take this the wrong way, Trevor.
Mm-hmm.
I fell asleep like 5 minutes ago.
I tried to do something serious, and this is the crap.
But
that
it's
I
actually
get.
a compliment. It might sound like I'm insulting you, but
I just gave you 10 compliments.
To quote
right
my
there.
father, Trevor has a nice voice for radio.
Thank you.
That's why I pivoted to video.
Don has the better face for video.
That's exactly right. Okay, let's not talk about it. But that's interesting. No, of course, I think it's important, because I think, working in the industry here on the East Coast and what we do here, like, it plays into it, the long hours and things like that, especially if you're doing film work and stuff.
I think a lot more people are talking about it too.
Yeah.
There is, for the longest time, and still to this day, there's a stigma that goes along with mental health. I mean, I've been kind of forward about my own mental health issues. There's definitely a stigma that I need to battle with almost every day. And I'm just glad that we have a bit of a forum. Granted, we created it, where we can talk about fun sci-fi things and, a serious side of mental health.
So you're saying my podcast is your therapy session?
Our podcast is partially a therapy session.
For you?
For me. And you.
For me, I'm in it for the dollars.
Yeah.
Benjamins.
And we're killing it on that level, let me tell you.
And that's why, please listen to this ad.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's the generous. And it's gone in interesting directions. Like, every year we're like, oh, who we're going to get next and how do we get them? And it certainly was easier during the strike in Hollywood. Probably would have been easier if we started this during COVID, actually.
Yeah, right. Absolutely.
But it's been interesting how we had, cinematographers and production designers and technicians in the first season, and then it became a lot of authors. Painters in the second season, and then I kind of pivoted into actors and things like that. So it's going to be interesting to see where we go from here for the rest of the season and then future seasons. But why don't we take a little break, get that sweet, sweet ad money, and then when we come back, we'll Shades of Grey this together.
50 Shades of Grey this?
No-win scenario. Shades of Grey. Coming right up.
Coming right up.
Did you know there was a time when this podcast flirted with coherence? These are those times.
Welcome back. And Trevor, I think we should just start at the beginning. I mean, I think we did our first 2 interviews pretty much back to back, I believe. It was right in the middle of Star Trek Picard kind of going through, which I know you had some issues with, and I loved.
Some.
But we had 2 close collaborators, production designer David Blass and art director Liz Kloczkowski, who brought the Enterprise D to life again once more, which was quite the undertaking. So I really thought it was a great way to kick off the show and sort of hear how a beloved show was brought back. And, I know you had some issues with season 3, but it really had was closer to the magic of Next Gen than the first two seasons were. And it was very interesting to hear sort of behind the scenes and how they brought back the Enterprise to life.
Right. Let me clarify. I'm very glad that I watched season 3. Very glad. It wasn't all for me, but I'm glad because of these people that we interviewed, I got to learn a lot more about what happened behind the scenes. And again, not to be repetitive, I'm glad I saw season 3. I just,
we had different experiences. Like I remember I got to go down to New York and sit in IMAX with a big crowd for the premiere of the finale.
Right.
And, they saw the second to last episode. We're all sitting there, hundreds of people, big event. There was a Q&A after with the cast. And then the beginning of that final episode, and you hear Chekhov's voice and a callback to Star Trek 4. And it was like, oh my God, I can't believe, like, that was, yes, it was fan service, but it was done, it made sense.
Right.
And having that experience, you just don't have anymore for a show that was 30 years ago.
And I know we've said this a million times, but I'll say it again. The one thing we both agree on, best Trek credit sequence
Absolutely.
ever.
Absolutely. So let's hear a little bit about what Dave Blass and Liz Kloczkowski had to say.
Time to let the adults talk.
I'm Dave Blass. I'm the production designer on Star Trek Picard seasons 2 and 3. But as a whole, I'm a production designer in the film and television industry. Production designer is the guy who takes the script, reads the script, and says, this show takes place on a spaceship, or it takes place in a coal mine, or it takes place in a bar. And it's up to me to work with the creative team and figure out, okay, how do we do this? Do we go to a bar? Do we build a spaceship? Is it a visual effect? And how do we turn what's on the page into reality? So I'm the turn the page into reality guy.
I'm Liz Kloczkowski. I'm an art director for the film and TV industry. And I'm, I guess, most known for Star Trek Picard and Promising Young Woman. That's the Star Trek fandom, though. They do care about what's behind the lens. They care about all of the artists, the musicians, the directors, the writers. I mean, they know everybody by name. So our directors have been thrown in. But even since the original series, I mean, Matt Jeffries is a household name, and he was art director. He's not acting in the show. They named a set after him, the Jeffries Tube. We're kind of like project managers, or you could like not a construction coordinator, because we work with the construction coordinator, but it's kind of like the wedding planner of the film set. So we're construction, paint, greens, drapery, set dressing. We liaise all of those departments to the lighting departments, to the camera departments, to the ADs, assistant directors. Maybe the actors want something. We're day to day with the director. Hey, the director's asking for this. So we basically facilitate getting this stuff delivered for the shoot day.
As it used to be, for years, all the production, most of the production was done in Los Angeles. And especially if you were doing TV, you'd go to work, every day at Warner Brothers for 22 episodes, and you'd work for a year on a season of a TV show, and you have your things, and that's what it was. But now with the streaming world, everything's cut down to 10 episodes, if that, and it's not done in LA. It's done in Atlanta or New Orleans or New Mexico or Toronto or any Bulgaria. Bulgaria, exactly. You look at something like Netflix Wednesday. I mean, the show takes place in Vermont, and they shoot it in Bulgaria or Budapest. Every 6 months, you're jumping on a plane, finding a new Airbnb to go somewhere else, and and then that takes a toll on people's families and and all that other stuff.
I had a show shooting in Mexico. They called me on a Friday, and they were like, "Can you start Monday?" Meaning you need to be in Mexico on Sunday. And so I had like 2 days to pack my life up. But once they send you the deal in the mail, it's like a legal document. You sign your deal memo, you agree to what the rate is, and then the travel coordinator sends you the info, or the office will send you, here's where you park on your first day to get your pass or whatever. It just depends on where it's shooting. I had been trying to get on Picard, and then COVID hit, and they had already crewed up. So it wasn't, there's no hard feelings or anything, but they had already crewed up, and then somebody quit. And I had a friend that was working on the show. He kept putting my resume on their desk, but there were other people in line. So they hired like 3 different people. And then, there was turnover, or, people leave for other jobs all the time. It's pretty frequent, actually. You just replace yourself. And I was on this show. It went like season 1 only, called Rebel for ABC. And we were like in the last 2 episodes. And so I just like gave my notice. They were mad, but I mean, it was the end of the show. So I replaced myself. Everybody was fine. Nobody died. And then I got in. I'm like, it's Star Trek, guys.
It's a whale. Yeah.
And they decorated my whole office like space and Spock everywhere. And they were so excited for me. So
one of the episodes that really stood out for me was season 2 with Star Trek author David Mack. He had written Star Trek Picard, Firewall, heavily centered around Seven of Nine, who wasn't one of my favorite characters watching the show. I loved her in Star Trek Picard. We'll get into Legacy another time. But I was really impressed and grateful to hear how candid he was about how people who may not respond to what's in his book, how, what his thoughts are on that.
He was about as open as any guest could ever be. I mean, no fear to say whatever was on his mind. Very open about mental health issues. Very open about the fan, a small section of the fan base who he is very much in a disagreement with. Incredible interview. One of my favorites.
Let's take a listen.
Hold on to something.
The entire point of Firewall as a novel is that it's structured like a classic Bildungsroman or coming-of-age tale. And the idea behind Firewall is that it's supposed to be, for Seven, a queer normative coming-of-age tale, except that in the fin de siècle, late 24th, early 25th century Federation, being lesbian or whatever is not considered any big deal. That's not going to be a source of stigma
not an identifier
to deal
or
with.
something. Yeah.
But we find the allegory for that in the fact that because she has Borg implants that she cannot be rid of, because it would kill her if they took them out, she has this sort of mark, this indelible thing that people can see. This is a culture that has still just barely survived recent near fatal brushes with the Borg. They're still terrified of the Borg. There's a lot of prejudice. There's a lot of fear. There's a lot of anger. So when she starts living there, early in the book, you see she gets her house vandalized. Somebody paints "Die Borg Bitch" on the front of her house. And the cops aren't really interested in doing anything about it. And it's because she has this very visible thing that makes her different and therefore self-conscious. But she can't change. In that respect, it could be an allegory for both prejudice against race, but also it's about prejudice against those who are openly queer, openly different, anything not cis heteronormative. One of the things that upsets me most is seeing bullying elevated to the political arena, bullying elevated to the legislative scale of things. When bullying gets to the point where we're now actively legislating, making people's very existence potentially a felony, to make it just to exist as you honestly are, that's the point where I just have to say, screw you, I'm going to fight you on this one, because now you're messing with my colleagues, you're messing with members of my family, you're messing with my friends. I would love to have this book get banned in multiple states across the Sun Belt. I would love to have Florida and Texas declare me a threat to the American family. Go ahead, boost my sales. I dare you. Please order in bulk. Feel free to burn them. I don't care if you burn them as long as you pay for them first.
Someone else who opened up to us was Jenny R. Johnson, the artist up in Canada, who jumped on our show. Has been, I've seen in all the photos and conventions and stuff and doing her artwork. And I've got her picture up there from Far Beyond the Stars of Benny Russell looking out at Cisco in the reflection. And I love that. That hangs up actually in my office. I thought it was interesting to hear how she found Next Gen and what that meant for her growing up. And just hear about her work and how meaningful it is. And, she keeps doing it, and kudos to her.
Right. I bought one of her prints of Sigourney Weaver with the flamethrower from Aliens. I absolutely love it. She's incredibly talented. And it was great to hear her story about how she was not to say she's not a serious artist now, but, she was a painter, and it kind of wasn't going anywhere financially for her.
Right.
And she had this pop culture background and grew up with Star Trek. And so she just started painting these stills, these scenes from famous episodes. famous movies, and like people went nuts over them. And it's not that she's doing well financially. She's like building a name for herself. Like a lot of the major players know who she is.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be surprised if she gets tapped to paint like the cover of a major book or something like that. I think it's just a matter of time for her. She's too damn talented.
I agree. Let's hear a little bit from her.
Engage.
I was a really imaginative kid, but I also was an ADHD kid in the 80s and a girl. So I would blurt things out. I didn't sort of have the filter that would necessarily keep me, under the radar with the other kids. So I was picked on pretty badly, the point where I just kind of was trying to separate myself from it. So I was hanging out in the library at lunch and, like eating my lunch alone, like that kind of, and then I go home in the evenings and I just be watching TV and just kind of, trying to be okay. And there was one day that I was just flipping through the channels and I saw that guy from Reading Rainbow, and I was like, oh, hey, and he's like crawling around in the mud. What's going on here? And then I started watching and I realized that like, I didn't really know. This was about 1991. So Star Trek: The Next Generation had been on the air for several years at that point. Right. But I guess I didn't really have, I kind of knew that it was a thing, but I'd never seen it. So I was like, wait a minute. Oh, this is like that new Star Trek show. And then I watched the rest of the episode and was, it was The Enemy was the first one. Oh, sure. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, and he's like stuck on Glarndon Core with the Romulan. And I was just like,
and that's the episode that sung to you.
That was, yeah. And there was actually a little while that I sort of didn't see it again. I don't know. And then the next episode that I watched was Skin of Evil, of all things. I know. But there's something about that
episode. That's where Tasha Yar dies. Trevor.
Yeah.
I know, Trevor, you're not great with the names.
No, I saw it.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah. So, I get to the end of this episode and I don't really know these characters, but I'm crying. I'm just like, this is the greatest show I've ever seen.
Oh.
And yeah.
And how old were you then? You were.
I was about sort of right around the point where I was about 12 years old. 11,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it, as I, and from then on, I was watching it because it was on 5 days a week in syndication at that point. Sure. And I was watching it religiously every day. I started, recording it on VHS. And it became like my world because all of a sudden I had this other place to go, Star Trek and TNG in particular, that group of people, that crew, like the characters were such a family. And and now we know in retrospect that the actors themselves were just loved each other. And obviously that came across. So there was that, like I felt like part of the crew, I felt like, and then sort of having this friend group of chosen friends,
right?
Because that really wasn't a thing growing up, right? You just were friends with the people that you grew up with. So it's like in that chosen family, that idea really, really spoke to me. The scene from the Deep Space Nine episode Far Beyond the Stars, where Benny Russell is looking out the window and sees the reflection of Ben Sisko. So that particular scene was chosen. That was another commission.
Oh, no.
And that was chosen by a gentleman who has become a collector and friend in San Francisco, who his wife is African American. And he introduced her to Deep Space Nine, and she connected hugely with Sisko, and that episode in particular, just that moment. And he just thought it was such a kind of evocative moment, and that's what I look for when I'm wanting to choose, to choose a moment. I either want something that is like iconic or something that really kind of gets across like the feeling of watching it. Let me
ask you this, because this is somewhat serious, and I'm saying this as like not a devil's advocate, but I don't believe what I'm saying. But does painting something that already has emotion baked in, is it cheating? Is it cheating?
I mean, maybe, but I don't. I don't care. No. I don't know. Like,
No. I actually think that's a very, very compelling.
It is absolutely. I mean, I think for me, the challenge isn't so much in creating a new feeling. It's more about like working from photos, working from an existing reference for me. The challenge in it is to recreate the light, the mood, the even down to the fact that, that episode is filmed on video, isn't it? Like it's not in HD. Just those kind of things. I'm really interested in light, shadow, the things the camera does. So for me, what I'm doing and sort of my experience in making these paintings for myself has a lot more to do with accurately recreating a moment. And the fact that these moments have like feeling attached to them, awesome.
Now, we usually deal with celebrities here at No Win Scenario because we're that popular, but we did have a local hero here. Your friend.
Yes, my friend Brian.
Our friend.
Who is the head of Independent Film Festival Boston and is a very, very big fan of a movie that I like to call Dune 1984.
David Lynch's Dune.
Dune 1984.
Which Sting recently said was is a masterpiece that people just don't understand. He just literally liked this week ago or so.
I don't believe that for a second. But, I mean, I'm a huge, huge fan of David Lynch, one of my all-time favorite filmmakers. Cried when he died. Totally cried. Not a fan of Dune. That said...
I love Dune.
Yes. That said, Brian Tam from the Independent Film Festival Boston and Dawn have really bonded because they both love Dune 1984.
David Lynch's Dune.
And... we had...
Know then it is the year 10,191. The known universe is ruled by the Padishah I'm the fourth. Go ahead. I promised him I wouldn't do this.
We had Brian Tam on the show, and even though in the edit, I cut some of this out, it was...
You haven't edited a second of this podcast.
I edited the Brian Tam episode.
Oh, that's the one you did.
Yeah, and I did another one too. I don't remember. I've done two.
I think I threw it out.
Probably. But it was clear that, and I'm not laughing at him, but it was clear that he was very uncomfortable with our back and forth.
Did not like it.
No, he did not like it at all.
Did not like
it.
He
did not like. I remember him telling people. I was working on a project with him a few weeks later, and he was like, "Trevor's such a sweet guy, and I never heard him like this. He was just so monstrous to his friend. I mean, I couldn't believe it." And I was like, yeah, he brings it out in me. Well, what are you going to do?
No, thank you, Brian.
Yeah, thank you, Brian.
Are we going to play a clip of Brian being uncomfortable?
I hope so.
Or should we move on? Maybe for Brian's sake, we just move right on. Just go right back on. We'll just move on to Todd E. Slayton, our friend who we discovered, and we had not one but two episodes with Todd. Worked on Deep Space Nine, gave us a lot of background lore on Far Beyond the Stars, one of my favorite episodes of Deep Space Nine, and one of the few episodes you actually watched.
Yep.
Great episode. Let's first hear from him.
Yep, we're doing this.
I was on the phones that day. Now, I said something online and I got blasted for it. We considered Star Trek the Black Star Trek. We had Avery, we had LeVar directing, we had Michael Dorn, we had Sirach, we had Brock, we had myself, we had Penny. I mean, I could just name the whole list. We had all these stand-ins who were black so it was very Afrocentric crew, let's say, without being like anti-white or pro, just Afrocentric.
Sure.
So we would sit around, us. And me being one of the younger ones, I was mentored by plenty of names I could name that you would never know on the crew who were involved with electric. Anyway, so we were outside and right by the door, you go, I think it's stage 4 is right there. Then there's my desk or the phone desk. So I could hear I had my foot in the door, everything else. And Avery just comes busting out and he goes, "Gentlemen, have a nice weekend. I'm not putting up with this. And he leaves. And I'm like, what happened? And he has an assistant. His name is Brian Andrew Tunstall. Brian's a great guy, amazing makeup artist. And Brian and Avery were really close, very close. He was the closest to Brian. So Brian goes and sneaks off, and he goes to Avery's trailer, and then Brian comes back. And Brian says to me, he says, oh, Mr. B's going home. I was like, dude, it's 1 o'clock. He can't leave yet. We got and I pull up the list. He's got 5 more scenes. Next thing you know, Mr. B pulls up in his black convertible Mercedes. He got the hot glasses on. He got the suit jacket and everything on. He goes, gentlemen, have a good day. And he rolls out, right? He rolls out, and Brian's up. 20 minutes later, 10 minutes, whatever it was, the door busts open again. It's Steve Oster. He's panicked. He's like, where's Avery?
Co-producer, right?
Yeah, co-producer. And he's like, where's Avery? And Brian just goes, probably over Texas. Like that. So these are busting up. So now Brian gets to go home, right? So Avery's done. There's no need for Brian. Right. Off the clock. Well, I got to stay until we wrap. So I'm going to say it. So the next morning, I'm standing in for Avery because his stuntman, who is John Lundell Bennett, rest in peace, Johnny. He was doing stunts at the time on the other show. So that Monday, I had to stand in for Avery. So we're at Cork's Bar. And God, I'm gonna get in trouble for this, but I'm gonna go ahead and say it. And so Avery goes to me, and he would turn, and now he's sitting there at the bar, and he's got his toothpick, and he's like this with his sides. And yeah, look at there's residual. But anyway,
I heard it's electronic finally.
He's sitting there with his sides reading, and I'm reading with him, and he goes, so what happened after I left? I said, they had to rewrite. I said, we were here until 11:30. I said, it was just, what were they going to do, Mr. B? He looks at me, he said, this is the part I'm going to get in trouble for. He said, Mr. Slayton, if they're going to treat you like a sometimes you act like a And I turned right back and went back to his thing, and we never talked about it again. And it meant so much to me, and I know that's controversial as hell, because it doesn't mean a black thing. It means a human thing,
a power thing.
They want to push you around and push you till you break. And I saw him do it. I saw him try to do it with him, and he just got tired of it.
And do you suspect it was like a contract negotiation issue, or just like a human just treating?
Changing words, talking down, just kind of like people are tired. You're not showing the proper respect to him, and he is you're whoever. Yeah. The show is him, and so he was just fed up. There was a couple times where that happened, and it was just other actors shining at that time and being bravoed and constantly bravoed, and you being like, okay, we'll get to you in a minute, and you're the star of the show. It gets a little old, type of thing, and I think that's what it was. It wasn't the N-word. It was just the attitude,
the treatment. And then, of course, Todd brought in some of his friends. So we had a nice little Deep Space Nine reunion. That was so nice to hear. And, what I like about our podcast, if I'm serious, is that we spend enough time with our guests. There's enough time for them to open up and tell us about, not just what they worked on, what they're known for, but what it's like working and the challenges they've had. And
sometimes they get down to the bitter truth, too.
And they get the bitter truth, like we know from this season. But Todd was great. Kathy was so interesting with the murder. And Mark. But really Robin, seeing, her former colleagues and her friends and seeing how meaningful that interaction was with her was, I thought, a really great way to end last season. Let's take a listen.
I've been diagnosed with Parkinson's, so I am very emotional anyway, because I have I appreciate every single day. And I appreciate every friend that I have that cares about me. I appreciate what Star Trek did to me, and I'm doing really well. I mean, I feel great, and I feel like I have a lot of life and stories ahead of me. But I know that what this time of my life was in Star Trek was special, and I'll never forget it. No matter how hard things get with your mom with cancer, and with the Kathy, who had just had back surgery and recovered, and Mark
just being crazy.
I just had cranial rectal extraction surgery.
Because we're doing things like those, we'll talk. Kathy and I have always got back together after several years, and now we've been, we had pajama party last weekend, just, watching documentaries and eating food.
Yeah.
It's so
Mark,
good.
don't even think about it, brother.
And
I wasn't thinking nothing.
Indian slumber party at my house.
I'll be there.
I'll be there too.
I think it's brought us all back together a little bit doing these podcasts, and I thank you for that.
And that was it. That was the end of season 2. I'm glad we're here in season 3. Where are you looking? You're looking. That's your camera over there, Trevor. For those people listening,
I'm looking at the center camera,
the wide shot. But yeah, but if you want to talk to the audience, you talk to the audience right there, man. No, you just want to look dead with those dead eyes.
I look at the center camera.
God, what a horrible way to come out of Robin's bit. Oh my God, our Shades of Grey episode is nearly done.
Our 50 Shades of Grey.
Our Shades of Grey. Season 2, it just dawned on me. This is season 3, but we're recapping season 2, which aligns perfectly with Next Generations.
Nobody cares.
Nobody cares. I know that. Well, on that note, I guess we'll just see you in the next episode. Trevor?
See you in the next episode,
Thanks
everyone.
for watching. Thanks for listening.
I'm looking in the right camera now.
Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Spreaker, Audible. Find us on YouTube, TikTok, all that fun stuff. Instagram still there. You'll
Still
find
on
it.
Instagram.
All right. See you next time.
Bye. In today's world, mental health is everyone's concern. If you or someone you know is in crisis, please use these resources. For U.S. listeners, call 1-800-950-6264 or text Helpline, all one word, HELPLINE, to 62640 or email helpline@NAMI.org. That's NAMI.org. For our international listeners, please visit